All right, everybody, welcome back to Remotely Wasted. Here with old Nichols and Mr. Redacted. Go ahead and state your name for the record.
What's up, everyone? I'm redacted.
You troll. He's on a government watch list. We can't state his name.
Can't show his face.
Just for this episode.
Yeah. So today we're just gonna be covering some weird kind of off the wall topics, conspiracy theories, crazy things that have kind of happened, not necessarily even in our country, but potentially like around the world. And just kind of shooting the breeze. And yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on for today. Nothing too crazy. No college football today, unfortunately. But yeah, we're probably gonna try to make this a weekly video with just having a guest on, kind of going over a random topic. It's not always going to be conspiracy theories or crazy events, unless something kind of just randomly happens. But so yeah, what would you guys like to do first? Anybody got anything crazy?
I'll let Redacted go first. Guest on the show, first guest.
All right. You guys remember the whole Panama Papers leak?
I've never heard of that.
No, you'll have to fill me in.
Oh man, so wait, let's see if I can pull up so I don't butcher it. But basically, it was a bunch of financial information. You get financial and legal records exposing crime, corruption, and wrongdoing, and it included financial information from it was like people in government, celebrities, big business owners, and it's kind of a bunch of offshore money and like tax fraud and all sorts of stuff. But it was this big leak, and I kind of died off. I think one of the lead investigators too for it was actually killed. I don't know if it was like foul play. I think they might have been in an area with
the man was assassinated.
Yeah, conflict going on, but I don't. I feel like it got swept under the rug. It came out, and then there's a big story, and then it just shut down.
When did this happen?
Let me see. I want to say it was around 2016, April 3rd of 2016.
Jesus, that's actually kind of recent.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any anybody named in the scandal?
Oh yeah, there was
any famous people,
hundreds of names. There was a list.
It's gonna be like Paris Hilton and Donald Trump.
I think Stanley Kubrick was one, the filmmaker.
Yeah. I got my boy.
Yeah, some of the big ones though. Let me see if I can get to the heads of state and whatnot. Oh, okay. Some of the big ones were like everyone involved with FIFA, pretty much, which I know is kind of an open secret that FIFA has a lot of tax fraud and trafficking and all that.
Super corrupt. You talking about the soccer organization, right? FIFA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, I think you said FEMA for a second. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh man, that would just like open up all those conspiracy theories.
Man, there's another thing with FIFA with the World Cup bid in Qatar this year. Did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
So like essentially, I think it was the president of FIFA. I can't remember the dude's name, but I think he ended up getting like fired, and I don't know if he went to jail or not, or if he is going to go to jail. But essentially, like they took a bunch of bribes from I don't know if it was just Qatar or a bunch of countries for the bids to host the World Cup, and essentially Qatar won it, and everybody was like, "What the fuck? Like how the fuck's Qatar hosting the World Cup? Their soccer team sucks." And so yeah, they got the bid to host it, and then so normally when a country hosts the World Cup, they have to have the infrastructure to be able to to host it. They have to have the roads, places for people to stay, just everything that a country would need in a big city or a couple cities to have all these people, this influx of people coming to watch the games and whatnot, making it as less not a headache. And so Qatar won it. Qatar does not have this infrastructure. They didn't have none of the fucking stadiums that they needed. So they got it. And then there was a huge thing with like human rights violations where they was paying, or they weren't even paying. They was like having these people come in from like Pakistan and all these other countries, and they were essentially taking their passports so they couldn't leave and forcing them to work there. And like these people, like people are dying and shit, like building all these buildings and stadiums. Because I think they won the bid. I don't even think it's been 5 years ago. So like they got 5 years. Let's just say 5 years. You got 5 years to build all this shit, and they just was like it's just slave labor, basically slave labor, basically. And it's actually crazy. And then also another thing is that so normally the World Cup is hosted in the summer. They moved it to the winter time. This is the only time this ever happened because it's too hot. And then everybody's like, "Oh, why the fuck are you hosting it if you can't host it when it normally is?" Yeah, FIFA's super corrupt.
Well,
That ruined the whole experience by moving it to the winter. Like it's such a summer event.
Yeah, now everybody's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be fucking cold and like. Oh, I guess.
Well, and it's now it's conflicting with all the other sports as well. So like basketball, football, and baseball, I think are probably going on around that time. Maybe baseball's over at that point, but
well, and it also throws off the whole like schedules for the leagues, like the soccer leagues.
oh yeah, because
So they either got to stop their season to allow their players to go play for their international teams, or they just say get fucked, and then now you have to play without your best players because they're called up to their national team, and now you just have to deal with it. So, yeah, FIFA's wild. And do you find anybody else on that Panama scandal?
Simon Cowell was one of them.
no shit.
The dude from America's Got Talent?
Yeah. But
What?
There's also someone, David Geffen. I don't know how to say his last name, but co-founder of DreamWorks, the studio.
Damn.
I mean, it's like hundreds of names on here. A lot of it's foreign names, like for businesses or heads of state and whatnot. But it's just, I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Like how many people you always hear about Swiss bank accounts and whatnot.
Yeah,
But then like Panama is the big thing apparently.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Tax
I remember
evasion.
there was a TV show that I watched where like they was going to Panama. It wasn't Ozarks, was it? Where they was like he was having their bank in like one of
Well,
those.
he was doing a lot of laundering. I can't remember if he.
Maybe it was a Caribbean country. I don't think it's Panama actually. That's
I don't know.
that's a good one. You got anything else on that?
I don't know. That's kind of it. It was there was one country that their head of state resigned. Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Actually resigned.
Just because his name came out. It wasn't. This isn't the biggest one because it did kind of make a big splash. It's like out of all those people on that list, how many do you really think anything happened to? You know.
Probably just the dude that resigned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good one, man. I didn't even tell you I watched the Big Short movie.
Oh yeah.
I watched it last. I was speaking of people resigning. This I don't know, made me think of it because like at the end of the movie, like after all that happened, only one person ever got in trouble for it, and it was like one random bank CEO or something like that. Out of all of that fucking shitstorm, only one dude.
Great movie.
Yeah, that was absolutely insane. I can't believe that actually happened. That seems like some made up shit, and it was just happening.
You gotta wonder how many deals and like I don't know how much people get away with day to day just because they're kind of in that too big to fail sort of thing. Like they just have enough money to make it disappear.
Right. I mean, I don't know. If you get a good enough lawyer, you can almost make anything go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at least it seems that way. I got a good one. You guys ever heard of the Tuskegee experiment?
Was that like in Alabama or something like that?
Yeah,
I've heard of that. Yeah,
is with the soldiers or whatever. Like
no, it's shit's fucked up.
like syphilis or some shit.
Yeah, so I'm pulling this off Wikipedia. Just I don't know. Wikipedia is like the easiest to navigate. And
wait, is this the university one? No, never mind.
Yeah, kind of. I think they do. So essentially, it was from 1932 to 1972, And the United States Public Health Service and the CDC pretty much took a group of like 400 African Americans with syphilis, and they kind of just did some weird shit. So essentially, the purpose of the study was to observe the effects of the disease when untreated through, although by the end of the study, medical advancements meant it was entirely treatable. The men were not informed of the nature of the experiment. More than 100 died as a result. Shit's crazy. So they were collaborating. The Public Health Service was collaborating with Tuskegee University. It's a historically black college in Alabama. So they pretty much took a total of 600 impoverished African American sharecroppers from Macon County, Alabama. And then, so of the 600, 399 had latent syphilis with a control group of 201 who were not infected. And then, so like an incentive of these people participating in the study, they was promised like free medical care. And they were not provided medical care essentially at the end of the thing. But let's see. So they were initially told that the experiment was only going to last 6 months, but it was extended to 40 years.
I didn't know that part about it. That's fucked up.
After the funding for treatment was lost, the study was continued without informing the men that they would never be treated. None of the infected men were treated with penicillin, despite the fact that by 1947 it was widely available, and it was like kind of standard treatment for syphilis. And then, so up until 1972, it kind of got leaked to the press and resulted in it being terminated. So at that point, 28 people had died directly from syphilis, 100 had died from complications related to syphilis, 40 of the patients' wives were infected, 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. And it's pretty much been cited as like arguably the most infamous biomedical research study in US history. Like, that's fucking wild.
That's like one of the most fucked up, like
right? Could you imagine like, yeah, I'll join your study. I'm gonna get free medical care. Like, you gonna make me right? Hell yeah.
Well, what's crazy is they still do. I mean, like they still like offer that kind of shit, like experimental mental things, and it just makes you wonder like what they're actually doing, or if they're still doing shit like that to this day.
All the time. And like the only reason it ended up getting stopped is because it got leaked to the press. Like, imagine this could potentially still be going. I mean, I doubt it, but I mean, 1972 was a hot bit ago, but the 70s were fucking a crazy time. There was a lot of fucked up shit going on.
Between this and MK Ultra, anytime someone says, "Oh no, the government would never do that,"
I don't know.
They're wrong. Like, we've definitely done it.
It has happened. Yeah, MK Ultra is fucking wild. That might be one of like the craziest stories I've ever heard.
I don't know that one.
You don't know MK Ultra? Here, I'll pull it up. I didn't want to do that one because it's a little more widely known. But let's see here. This is a banger. So Project MK Ultra, or MK Ultra, was the code name of an illegal human experimentation program designed and undertaken by the CIA. So the experiments were intended to develop procedures and identify drugs such as LSD that could be used in interrogations to weaken individuals and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. It was used to manipulate its subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as the covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs, especially LSD and other chemicals. So you got electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and then other forms of torture. And it began in 53, kind of got reduced down in 64 and 67, and then stopped in 73.
73 ain't that long ago. That's what's crazy about it. I mean, like, it is, but it's not.
No, it really wasn't. So pretty much these people didn't even know it was like really happening. Like the people that was being, the tests were being ran on. Let's see. So MK Ultra's scope was broad, with activities carried out under the guise of research at more than 80 institutions, including colleges and universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies. The CIA operated using front organizations. And then although some top officials of these institutions were aware of the CIA's involvement, it was brought to the public attention in 75 by the Church Committee of the United States Congress. The fuck is the Church Committee? And Gerald Ford, United States President's Commission on the CIA activities within the United States, also known as the Rockefeller Commission. Investigative efforts were hampered by the director of the CIA at the time, Richard Helm, and he ordered all the files be destroyed in 73. And so essentially that's why we don't really know everything that happened. Only a small number of documents survived. And then they did uncover a cache of 20,000 documents relating to MK Ultra. And then some stuff was declassified in 01. So yeah, that's fucked up. Like they would pretty much like bring people into like a room like and have like false mirrors and stuff like that, and they would have these people take LSD and just watch them and like make them do shit,
make them trip out.
Oh, and it would be like a very, very big dose, like not
like
just
to like see how far they could push it, essentially.
Yeah,
like what effect it would have.
It wouldn't even be having a good time.
Wasn't the movie Jacob's Ladder partially about? Was it MK Ultra or was it another one?
I don't think I've ever heard of that movie.
That's pretty good. Another one that MK Ultra reminded me of. It's Operation Sea Spray from the 50s.
Yeah, I'd looked that one up when I was trying to find stuff. That one's a little good.
Yeah, that one kind of crazy. Like the government poisoned, the whole Bay Area in California, basically.
Was it at San Francisco?
Yep, San Francisco. They hit them with 2 types of bacteria that they sprayed into that area, and they said it's possible. So first they said there's no evidence the army had alerted health authorities before it blanketed the region, and doctors later wondered whether the experiment was responsible for heart valve infections around the same time and serious infections seen in intravenous drug users in the 60s and 70s.
It's wild. Like I don't even know what to say. That's kind of like the chemtrail fucking theory, like that they're like flying, spraying shit down on the people. I mean, I don't know.
Here's my thought, right? Like I told you before we started the show, after hearing the whole Epstein thing, right? If you had told me back in 2010, if you had said, "Hey, there's this one dude, he's super well known with a bunch of rich people and like politicians, actors, blah blah blah," him and his like co-part, they have this island, and they fly all these famous people to their island. The people have like sex and do whatever with underage girls, and then he takes photos and he blackmails them, and that's how he hasn't gotten caught. I'd say you're crazy, you're out of your mind. and then the whole Epstein thing came out. What?
That sounds like a fucking movie too.
After that, like what conspiracy theories would you believe at this point? Because before I would have said you're crazy, and now I feel like anything's on the table.
I would say just about. I mean, other than kind of like the Loch Ness monster type shit, like that's
Oh yeah.
Those are a little out there.
Anything within the natural element.
It's I don't know. Fucking people are sick. That one just makes me sick.
Epstein is pretty fucking crazy. That's just wild to me. And there's like multiple presidents. Like I think like Clinton and Trump were both in there.
Yeah, a bunch
like
of big name actors,
celebrities,
like Tom Hanks, fucking Kevin Spacey.
I mean, Bill Gates apparently was on his plane.
That.
Yeah, hearing all those names, now you know why the fucking list hasn't came out. Like there's a lot of money flowing around, probably keeping that shit buried, or maybe the list doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I know I never remember how to pronounce her name. I'm gonna butcher it. Ghislaine Maxwell. But basically, his sort of number 2, she helped run everything and part of the operation,
wasn't it?
Something along those lines. But she's being, I can't remember if the trial's done, but she was in court just recently. It might still be going, and I don't know. They're thinking it'll be like a plea deal, but she's still here. I don't know. Maybe we'll see with the list.
Surprised she hasn't got suicided yet.
Well, apparently, I think her dad is connected to. Was it the? So, hold on. Let me pull it up. connected to, is it Mossad? Or,
Oh shit.
yeah, like he's like Secret
that's
Service over, somewhere else.
Mossad's in Israel, right?
Or I'm trying. Hold on. Let me just pull it up.
That's probably why she's not been killed yet. Yeah, I don't know. I can't believe that actually happened.
Do you
And
think
just
it was like a coalition of like? Because I mean, like I don't think anybody really thinks he killed himself. Like, do you think it's like a coalition of people that like orchestrated that, or do you think it's just kind of like a very specific?
I don't think he killed himself. That man definitely got murdered. Well, because like normally, like when you get put into like something like that, I'm pretty sure they take all your shit. Like they take everything you could use to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember exactly how it went down, but they just like weren't watching him, and then he just somehow just died. I don't know. Yeah, I think somebody set it up. Don't know who. A lot of people think it was old Hillary.
I could see maybe she's part of it, but I think it's probably like a large, like pretty much anybody on that. Like, there's probably a group of people that were on that list that probably teamed up. And
It was like, oh fuck yeah, we got to get out in front of this, and cause I mean, like once that list comes out, there ain't no coming back. I would expect a whole lot of motherfuckers to be going to jail.
where
Yep,
was
so-
Epstein like in the process? Like during that, was he like convicted and everything? Because I'm not too familiar until like after he killed himself.
I think he was awaiting trial, if I remember correctly.
So he could have possibly still thrown other people like under the bus.
I just looked it up. So this was in 2019, yeah, August. So guards found him unresponsive in his Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York jail cell while he was awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. So they performed CPR. He was transported in cardiac arrest to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. The medical examiner ruled that his death was suicide by hanging. And then his lawyers challenged the medical examiner's conclusion and opened their own investigation. So the guards on duty were later charged with multiple counts of record falsification. Many public figures accused the Federal Bureau of Prisons of negligence. So as a result of his death, all charges against him were dismissed, and ongoing sex trafficking investigation shifted attention to Ghislaine Maxwell, who was arrested the following year. Let's see. So due to violations of normal jail procedures on the night of his death, the malfunction of 2 cameras in front of his cell, and his claims to have compromising information about powerful figures, his death generated speculation about the possibility he was murdered. Other theories claimed his death was feigned. So public opinion polls suggest that only a small percentage of Americans believe that he committed suicide. About 16%. 45% believe he was murdered, and 39 being unsure.
I think the only argument that I saw just recently, I think looking up for the podcast, I read it. The only way I could see that it was actually suicide, I think he mentioned that he had that meeting with his lawyers, right, where he relinquished all his funds and his possessions and everything to, I think it was 2 people specifically, but it made it harder for any victims to take that money because it's all basically, I think it's tied up in Panama, actually bringing it back there. Yeah, but it's all tied up in sort of the offshore accounts and everything. And he did that a couple days, I want to say, before he committed suicide, or well, quote unquote, committed suicide. But the argument is that he wanted to, because he didn't, want to go to trial and go to prison and everything. And he paid his lawyers apparently pretty handsomely. And I think one of the guys that he was put in a cell with after he was taken off suicide watch, someone mysteriously paid their bail the night before he killed himself. And they think like, it could have possibly been his lawyers setting it up so that way he could kill himself. That's like that's the closest I could get to believing it. But I could also believe that, someone high up paid the bail and then got that second guy out of the cell and went in and.
Oh, here's another portion. This is kind of in lieu of what you were talking. So he was placed in a security housing unit, the SHU. The jail informed the Justice Department that he would have a cellmate and that a guard would look into the cell every 30 minutes. These procedures were not followed on the night he died, of course. So on the 9th, his cellmate was transferred and no replacement was brought in. The evening of his death, Epstein met with his lawyers, who described him as upbeat before being escorted back to the SHU. CCTV footage shows that 2 guards failed to perform the required institutional count at 10 p.m. and recorded Noel briefly walking by Epstein's cell at 10:30. The last time the guards entered the tier where his cell is located. Through the night, in violation of the jail's normal procedure, Epstein was not checked every 30 minutes. The 2 guards assigned to check his cell overnight fell asleep at their desk for about 3 hours and later falsified related records. And then the 2 cameras in his cell malfunctioned that night. And another camera had footage that was unusable. That's a whole lot of coincidences.
Weird coincidence.
Perfect storm type shit that is weird.
That's why I tend not to believe the suicide thing. Even the lawyer one, like, that makes sense, but it still doesn't explain how, just those 2 cameras weren't working. The guards fell asleep at exactly the right time. I mean, there's just too many other things that his lawyers couldn't go in and break the cameras.
So his death was first ruled a suicide. And then this dude from 60 Minutes questioned whether he's almost 6 foot. He's weighed about 185 pounds, could have been able to hang himself from the lower bunk. And photos taken after the death also show bottles and medicine standing upright on the top bunk. So he also questioned why he did not use other materials available in the cell as ligatures, such as wires and tubing from a sleep apnea machine, which were stronger and longer. How the fuck do you hang yourself from the lower bunk?
How's it?
I guess it would just be choking yourself out at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know physically if you can hang yourself and you have a way to stop yourself. Like, because if you're on that lower bunk, and I would assume if you're hanging yourself, like, your feet would be able to hit the ground. So, like, you'd be able to just, stand up and kind of release the pressure off your neck. I don't know if you'd physically be able to do that to yourself. Like, because I don't think you can physically, like, just choke yourself out. I don't know. I feel like I heard that somewhere that was like
I've never heard of anybody
like,
actually killing themselves by, like, choking themselves
Yeah,
out.
so like, if he's able to touch the ground with his feet and he's hitting that point to where he's about to die, I feel like just naturally he would just try to save himself. That's just weird.
Sus. Epstein sus.
Sus. Let's vote him out.
Yeah, he voted himself out.
And his hyoid bone, among others, was broken. It is disputed whether this is more indicative of hanging or strangulation. That's just wild. That's a absolute fucking shit show. All right, Nick, what do you got? Anything spicy?
Kind of more just going on, like, some of the fucked up shit the government's done. I saw one. This one was like a list of, like, theories that were proven to be true. And I guess during Prohibition, the government had poisoned alcohol to keep people from drinking. During that time, they killed more than 10,000 people.
Holy shit!
I heard about the poisoning, but shit. Not the 10,000.
I've never heard of that. That's actually wild.
Makes me wonder if they did anything like that with weed, like with weed making kind of the.
I don't know.
I've never heard of anybody, like, dying from, like, weed in any way, even being laced, really. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but, like, I haven't really heard about it.
I mean, you could make the question with, like, the fentanyl crisis we got going on right now.
Maybe the government's doing that. I mean, you don't know.
See, my thing with the government and the fentanyl thing, the companies who pay the politicians and all that make so much money off of prescription drugs that
Yeah.
I feel like they wouldn't want it to, kill more people, like get on the streets and start killing people like that. They just make too much money from
I
it.
mean, you also got the war on drugs benefiting the fucking government in a massive way. Still,
See, I think the fentanyl crisis could possibly help out the drug companies, because then it forces people to pretty much go doctor shopping or find ways to get opioids and not being off the streets, because they'll be scared that they're gonna get
yeah, the
hit with some
overdose on
fentanyl.
fentanyl.
So they're going to probably more extreme lengths to get them legally.
Yeah, it should be terrifying. I watched a video of this. It was like a police officer. I think he made like some sort of traffic stop and like found something, and like he just like touched it, and it like the dude was like fucking overdosing on fentanyl just by touching it. Like that shit's so powerful.
Yeah, I saw like a cop like passed out or
Yeah.
something. Like he opened like the trunk, and like I don't know, like whatever, it hit his face, and they had to fucking Narcan his ass.
Yeah, that one, the dude he ended up getting in the car and was like able to drive himself. Like,
Well, he was still functional.
yeah, barely, and like he was so fucked up. I think it was like his body cam footage, and he pulled up to like the garage and was just like, I don't even know if he put the shit in park, and it was just like fucked up. And I think they ran out and like hit him with the Narcan or something like that. Yeah, fentanyl,
That's scary.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous. It's like the worst time to be a drug user. Because you just never know. There's no way to know.
It's scary that if they took the right amount of fentanyl and just spread it over a city, like that'd be it,
Crop dust the city with fentanyl and
Yeah,
wipe out
exactly.
the whole populace, or put it in like a water. I wonder if like it was in a water supply, like if it like water dilutes it.
I don't know.
We're definitely on a watch list after this episode.
Yeah, I feel like we're trending in a little weird territory, but we should just back off that one. Yeah.
Getting in some dark places.
We're backing off that one. I got another good one. It's kind of it's like with that Snowden thing with the whole WikiLeaks type shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's codename Prism. It's a program under which the NSA collects the internet communications from the various U.S. internet companies. The program is also known by the SIGAD US-984XN. So Prism collects stored internet communications based on demands made to internet companies such as Google under this FISA Amendment Act to turn over any data that match court-approved search terms. Among other things, the NSA can use these prisms to request target communications that were encrypted when they traveled across the internet backbone to focus on stored data that telecommunication filtering systems discarded earlier, and to get data that is easier to handle. So essentially, like, they're pretty much setting up these like approved search terms, and anything that's just rolling through that hits those terms, it's just being pulled off, and they can just take whatever they want. It began in 2007 in the wake of the passage of the Protect America Act under the Bush administration. Yeah, Bush. So the program is operated under the supervision of the FISA court, or FISC. And then Edward Snowden leaked the existence 6 years later and warned that the extent of mass data collection was far greater than the public knew and included what he characterized as dangerous and criminal activities. And then, the Guardian and the Washington Post picked it up. And then subsequent documents have demonstrated a financial arrangement between the NSA's Special Source Operations Division and PRISM partners in the millions of dollars. And then documents indicate that PRISM is the number one source of raw intelligence used for NSA analytic reports, and it accounts for 91% of the NSA's internet traffic acquired under FISA Act, or the FISA section. And the leak information came after the revelation that the FISA court had been ordering a subsidiary of telecommunications company Verizon to turn over logs tracking all of its customers' telephone calls to the NSA. That's fucking insane. Like what the fuck?
I feel like everyone who had the theories about the government spying on them and all that,
100% viable.
Yeah, after Snowden came out and the PRISM information came out, 100%. did you see back when they leaked a bunch of the NSA's different tools they use to spy on people? There was some wild shit, like movie level things in there. I think there was one that they used a laser and you could point it at windows, so like car windows or glass on a house, and the laser read the vibrations in the glass, and they could kind of decipher what people were saying inside
Oh,
like a vehicle or inside a home through the glass.
You ever seen the movie Eagle Eye?
Mm-hmm.
So you remember when the I don't remember what the fuck they called the thing. They was in that safe room, and like it was reading the vibrations of the liquid in the coffee cup from their voices to tell what they were saying. Like I could 100% believe that that's definitely doable. I mean, I don't know how like how well it would work, but I think it's within the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, hey, apparently they leaked that like they have something kind of like that.
That's fucking insane. Like what a weird time to be alive. That's like you can pull the vibration off a window and to get a conversation.
Like some James Bond level.
That's 100% some James Bond shit. And like if this was 10 years ago and like you told somebody that, they'd be like, "Are you fucking high?" Like
you told me in like 2007 if we could just have like fucking music on our phones, I think that's crazy. Like,
where's your tinfoil
some of the shit
hat,
they're doing
man?
now. Oh, you don't remember the chocolate, the phone that was.
Oh, I remember that had like a it was like the first one that had a little MP3 player on it. Yeah, I remember that. Like right before the iPhone.
But
I don't remember that at all. I was a brokey.
I just remember when my friends in junior high had one. I was like, oh man, that thing's sweet. Plays music and it's a phone.
Was it like? Was it kind of like the iPhone? Like, did it look like it?
Oh no, it was. I think it was. It wasn't a
what was it?
phone,
what was
but
it called?
Was the chocolate. I believe it was the name.
I could never fucking spell chocolate.
Just got to spell it out like in the SpongeBob episode. Chocolate.
Yeah, the chocolate. Let's see the chocolate phone. There we go. Let's see. Let's check this bad boy out. Oh my, what the fuck is that? I feel like I've seen one of these before.
It was peak technology.
Huh.
Remember, I didn't even have one. I just saw like the commercial for it, and I was like, that shit is nuts. And then like very shortly after that, the iPhone came out.
It had an MP3 player in it.
Yeah, and that wasn't like common at all.
Trailblazers. An iPhone came and stole it.
Even the iPhone, like one, like looking back at it now, it looks like so terrible compared to what we have. But when that first came out, that shit was nuts. It was like you could use the actual internet and shit.
It was kind of weird if you look back at the phones around the time that were available when the iPhone came out. It's like a fucking astronomical difference. Like,
although
crazy.
I will say, I think the first gen iPhone it didn't have the App Store yet, right? So I mean,
that's true.
It was still like a PDA and a phone rolled into one.
Yeah.
But it didn't have quite the impact. But I mean, it was still having a calculator and all that stuff built in. Big jump.
Good old iPhone. I fucking hate iPhone. I don't even know why I have one. It's just easy to use.
I never have any trouble with them like crashing on me or doing anything slow like that. I'm not particularly like just amazed with what's on it. I just like how it doesn't fail me.
I don't know, that new iPhone looks pretty nice with the little, kind of like the dead space on the top.
Oh yeah, that little I think they're calling it like an island or something like that.
Yeah, and then now they're calling it like the pill or some shit. And now there's like a use for it. I don't know, it looks kind of cool.
I'm just saying, y'all are missing out,
On what?
Missing out on the Android life.
Oh, I thought you were supposed to say you're rocking a BlackBerry.
Which one you got?
I still have a Samsung Galaxy S7 or S8, excuse me.
Do you remember the S6 Edge? I had one of those in high school. You remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that shit.
That shit
like
was
the little
fucking
screen on the side.
The curve side. Yeah, because remember we went to the casino and I won $500 on the penny machine, and I went to fucking AT&T and I was like, phone fucking plan. Let me get the
that was like one of the like top 2 phones at the time.
Yeah,
Like that, whatever iPhone it was, then that one.
that whole thing was like it was like $512. So like I had to pay like $12 out of pocket.
The S series was kind of ahead of its time. Like I had the S4, and you could like do 2 screens at once. Like you could divide it. Like there was like a button you could hit, and if like I wanted to be on YouTube and then be on Facebook or something, like I could do it. And now like I don't even think they offer that anymore.
They do actually.
Oh, they do.
They do. My S8 does it. So I'm just saying, you know.
He said checkmate.
That's
Damn.
right.
That's crazy. Because like YouTube's trying to get you to pay just to be able to like scroll off the app, like get off the app and do something else.
That shit pisses me off.
Yeah, definitely. I run YouTube Advanced, which has the ad blockers built in. Like I said, y'all are missing out.
I don't know.
I mean, the ads are annoying, especially when they're like 5 times in a 10-minute video.
Yeah, if it's that much, I'm just not watching.
I'm cool with like 2. Like that's like get your money. Like fair enough.
I think depending on the videos like length, if it's you're watching like an hour video, like okay, maybe one every like 10 minutes, something like that. But
this would be the perfect time for the podcast video for an ad to just cut right in the
middle. Mid speech, just boom ad.
Yeah, right as we're bitching about how much just cuts out.
We're not ad eligible yet. Hopefully.
I can't remember what the requirements are.
You have to like have like
it's like a certain amount of subscribers,
like
right?
1,000 subscribers, I think is what I saw. Or like or it could be like you could get X amount of views. So if you have like a shit ton of views, like on one video or something, I think you're eligible.
It's doable.
Imagine your first sponsor being like a local mattress shop.
Mattress firm.
Oh, would we take it? I don't know. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
They're gonna see next episode. You start out. This episode is brought to you by Casper Mattress
Firm. All right, I got one more conspiracy that I found that was decent. So, have you guys ever heard of the ATF Gun Walking Scandal?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, Mats, I think I was talking to you about at work earlier about this one. So, it's called gun walking or letting guns walk. Was a tactic used by the Arizona U.S. Attorney's Office and the Arizona Field Office of the ATF. So they ran a series of sting operations between 2006 and 2011 in the Tucson, Phoenix area. So the ATF was like purposely allowing licensed firearm dealers to sell weapons to illegal straw buyers, hoping to track the guns to Mexican drug cartel leaders and arrest them. These operations were done under the umbrella of Project Gunrunner, and it was intended to stem the flow of firearms into Mexico by interdicting straw purchases and gun traffickers within the United States. And then it's kind of also tied in with the Operation Fast and Furious, which was, I think, 2 weeks previous or before this started. So yeah, the goal was to, essentially just track them into Mexico, and hopefully they could, I don't know how the fuck you're going to track weapons into a whole ass another country, but there was some crazy shit that happened with this. So where was it at? So during Operation Fast and Furious, which was before this, the largest gun walking probe, the ATF monitors the sale of 2,000 firearms, of which only 710 were recovered. And then they arrested and indicted a whole bunch of people after that. None were the targeted high-level cartel figures that they were trying to get. And then a bunch of the guns that they were tracking were found on a bunch of crime scenes at the border, and the scene where the United States Border Patrol agent Brian Terry was killed in 2010. I didn't know that at all, but that's kind of interesting. And then the gun walking operations became public in the aftermath of his murder. So, and then a bunch of dissenting ATF agents came forward to Congress in response. And then they found a bunch of more firearms at numerous crime scenes in Mexico, where at least 150 Mexican civilians were maimed or killed. Revelations of gun walking led to controversy in both countries, and diplomatic relations were damaged.
I just want to know where along the plan no one asked and said, hey, like we're letting them buy these guns and take them down there. How are we going to track them?
That's what I'm
And
saying.
no,
How the fuck are you gonna track a serial number until you find it at the fucking scene of a crime or in somebody's possession?
Yeah.
no one along the way said like, oh, maybe we'll just toss a little GPS or something in the shipment. Maybe throw something in the ammo box. I don't know, but no one, no one had the forethought on that part.
Just something.
I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing behind it just doesn't make sense. I'm assuming they were just banking on traffic stops and drug busts and finding these weapons and be like, oh, this was an illegal buy. Now you're going to fucking jail because you're in possession of an illegal weapon. That's the only thing I can think of. It just doesn't make sense.
And instead, all they got was, hey, wow, the cartel buys weapons illegally and then uses them. Nothing else around.
Yeah, and kills a bunch of people, including a DE agent or Border Patrol agent. Yeah, for some reason, when I was initially reading this, I was thinking it was the DE agent that was killed. Have you ever seen the Narcos TV show? Like, you ever seen that, Nick?
I ain't never seen Narcos. I've been meaning to watch it.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch it. I just never got around to it.
So essentially, like this DE agent got killed. I don't know if it was by the Narcos, and it essentially kind of launched the whole fucking campaign against oh god, what the fuck was Fat Boy's name? The Colombian drug lord.
Oh man, Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar, and so that kind of got the DEA all pissed off, and they went fucking just guns blazing and was trying to get him because he killed that DEA agent. So yeah, reading this, I was like, oh yeah, this is that guy, and then I'm like, wait a minute, this is fucking like way later. Fucking idiot. Yeah, that was another good one I found. That's just kind of like the skimming the surface. There's a whole lot more into that, but I don't feel like reading a whole wiki page to you, and you just look it up yourself.
I mean,
unless you want me to read to you, I'll talk nice.
We're gonna get into some deep areas eventually. We've got pretty deep so far. We had to dial it back on one subject.
Yeah, somebody's gonna be knocking at my door in like 30 minutes probably.
I mean, it's kind of like when, speaking of conspiracies, when, oh man, how did I forget his name? Oh, Tom Clancy. One of his books he wrote, the government came knocking to his door and they're like, hey, who told you about this info? Because in his book, he was saying like the agents use whatever technology, which wasn't a real thing back then. But it turns out the government actually had that. And they're like, hey, who told you about this? Like someone leaked this. He's like, no, man, like it just seemed like a cool idea,
That's crazy.
It's fiction.
Like, what a coincidence. Actually, I did find one more conspiracy for you guys. Whenever you're ready.
I got one more
Yeah,
after you.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
This one was, I think I heard about it on NPR the other day, or it was on the radio. But there was actually so with birth control, so there were certain birth controls that were marketed more towards minorities, like African American women, I think specifically. But it turned out that birth control was doing kind of serious damage to their bodies, and like they would be, I think it was causing it so they couldn't have children, or it's causing other injuries that made it kind of impossible to do that. And it was kind of like a eugenics conspiracy, but it turned out like the company knew that some of the birth control pills or whatever they were taking, they knew it was causing this damage, and they weren't doing anything about it. And it was, like I said, specifically targeted towards minorities. So
that's fucked up.
Yeah,
it's like
some white supremacy shit. Like
yeah, they kind of force the minorities not to be able to have children anymore. That's
fucked. But they did it in such a sneaky way to be like, oh yeah, like birth control. You should have like birth control's a good thing if it's available for people.
Free.
Yeah, but in this case, they were like, oh, we're gonna market this one specifically to this group, and then we know it's got these issues. I just thought it was insane.
Jesus Christ. What a time to be alive, man.
And I want to say it's fairly recent too. Like it's the person talking to the interviewer on the news. She was a younger lady, so it's not like it's not from the 50s or anything. It's kind of a recent thing.
Sounded like some 2012 type shit.
So maybe
That could be
something like
another
that.
conspiracy, the 2012 end of the world stuff.
Oh man,
I'm
That
like, well,
shit
I'm
was funny.
gonna go get my
Yeah.
tin foil, my aluminum foil, and make me a hat real quick. And I'll be back.
Didn't you stay home from school that day?
I think I did.
I'm pretty sure you're like, bro, my dad's making us all stay home, like just in case.
It sounds very plausible. I don't know, man. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, you
I
never
was
know.
I didn't really like think anything would happen, but I did take a gas mask to school with my backpack. I was like, you know what? I'll be prepared though. I'm ready.
See, this is why we brought him on here for the prepping session.
Yeah, we might jump into that now.
Well, I got one
kinda
more.
oh yeah, go ahead.
This one's near and dear to Nick's heart.
Oh, boy.
All right, it's Deflategate.
Oh, fuck you.
It ties us into our football. Jesus, I was just trolling. Do you want me to talk about it? It's kind of cool.
I mean, Deflategate was like I have no words for how stupid the whole thing was.
I'll just read you what not Wikipedia. Yeah, Wikipedia says. So it was an NFL controversy involving the allegation that the New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady ordered the deliberate deflation of footballs used in the Patriots' victory against the Indianapolis Colts in the 2014 AFC Championship game. It did result in Brady being suspended for 4 years while the team was fined $1 million and forfeited 2 draft selections in 2016. So his suspension was originally to be implemented during the 2015 season. They appealed, and then concluding the season, they reinstated Brady's 4-game suspension, which became effective for the 2016 season.
We went 4-0 during that stretch.
Brady announced he would accept the suspension, missed the first 4 games, and then concluded with the Patriots winning the Super Bowl and Brady being named MVP. And then it, allowed it came about the NFL changed the procedures for monitoring football pressure. During that game though, the Colts didn't get blown the fuck out 45-7 in New England. It wasn't even close. I'm pretty sure I don't even know why that was a big deal. You guys ran the ball the whole fucking game.
Well, and it is cold as fuck outside, and that could cause things to deflate. I mean,
yeah.
You got to check your tire pressure more in the winter when you're driving. I mean, I'm sure footballs deflate.
Yeah, so footballs are required to be inflated to 12.5 and between 12.5 and 13.5 psi. Let's see, what was it at? I don't know. It doesn't say in this portion, but
I think the wildest part, like it's the whole thing is just dumb because they took the football at the same PSI that they checked it at later, right? And I think they handed it to a couple people and they said like, "Hey, can you tell the difference between this football and this football?" And it was so negligible that the average person was like, "No, there's no idea." I could get like a ball that's super deflated or super inflated, but it was so slight that it was probably just the temperature.
So HeadSmart Labs found that similar weather changes caused an average 1.8 psi drop in football pressure, and they also reported that the air in an electric pump could reach 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which is also going to affect it. And then the referee of one of the games said, "We test them. It's 12.5 to 13.5. We put 13 in every ball." Dean tested a couple in the office and had one on the underinflated and one specs, and you really couldn't tell the difference unless you actually sat there and tried to squeeze the thing or did some extraordinary thing. Someone just tossed you the ball, especially in 20-degree weather, you're going to pretty much play with the ball. They're going to be hard. You're not going to notice the difference.
That might have been what I was remember hearing about, was them saying that basically.
There's a whole a physics argument in this section.
Well, and then also it can't be that much of a difference. Like the refs touch the ball before every play.
Yeah.
Like they'd be like, "Whoa, this ball is fucked up."
Yeah. If they didn't notice, it clearly wasn't that much. You can tell a true flat ball versus what it's supposed to be at.
Yeah, I just had to pull that one up for our conclusion of the conspiracy theories. just trolling Nick a little bit. I still can't believe that happened. And then they also have that filming another team's practice or something like that.
Spygate, which that was a real thing. But every team does it.
Who was the team that you guys got caught spying on?
I think it was the Rams. I might be wrong though. Maybe it was the Jets.
I don't know why you guys would be spying on Jets. They fucking suck.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the Jets.
Yeah.
It was in 07. Jesus Christ.
Jets.
Did you guys win that year against the Jets?
If it was like the 2007 season, yeah, it's like an undefeated season. Yeah, I think that's when it would have happened. Yeah.
I think you guys need to default that. You guys cheated.
I mean, hey, it worked, right? If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah,
honestly, really? Yeah, every team fucking cheats in some form or fashion. They have to. No one team's like, you know what? We're just not gonna fucking cheat. We're gonna get our ass beat.
There's a website. It's called Your Team Cheats or something like that, and it has like all the NFL teams and how many times they've cheated. I think the Broncos had the most.
Jesus Christ.
Cardinals
all right, I guess that'll conclude our conspiracy talk, unless you guys got any other crazy topics or hot takes on said discussions.
No, I feel like we got on every list we needed to. So
Yeah, probably.
I feel like we're hunted already.
Yeah, you hate to see it. All right, yeah, we'll go ahead and end that section here. We take a quick little break. I gotta go to the men's room. Be back in a flash.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.